I don't agree with or whatever, doesn't matter because, oh, and now we're live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Um, if I'm upset about something I'm seeing, I'm the one who put it there. I'm the one that put it there. And if I just remember that, Jesus tells us, if you're upset about it, you're the one that put it there, and you're the one that chooses to keep looking at it. So, simple, easy peasy. Ask myself, why do I want that? And that's what I was talking about with these characters, these political figures that, I mean, honestly, it's unbelievable to me, the incredible characters in on the political screen right now because it's all so cartoonish. Every bit of it is so cartoonish that it is like, absolutely, how could you believe that this was true? If you went to a movie, or got, movie on Netflix, and this kind of stuff was happening, you would say, that is so far-fetched. It is unbelievable. I can't watch this movie because or I can't get into this movie because the characters are like cartoon characters and the story is like a cartoon story. And that's what's happening in our world or in my world, Lynn's world that I'm seeing right now is that, excuse me, that everything is like uh so exaggerated. uh, uh, all of the all of the characters are so exaggerated and so silly, and they're the parts, the lines that they're giving, the script that they're reading is just outrageously silly and unbelievable, everyone was saying it. I mean, the world is saying it. Who would conduct their business like this? Who would conduct a government like this? Who would, you've got to be insane. And of course, more and more and more that insanity is being pointed out. We're seeing it over and over and over again to the point where it's like, your children's drawings that are on the refrigerator suddenly come to life and you're living in that house. And you're like, wow, how, how am I living in a house that looks like a kid's drawing? Because that's what our thinking has got us into now. Something that's so absurd that it is unbelievable. And that's why we have to laugh. And Sharon, you're saying, or maybe Laura was saying, I don't know how we can laugh about a war. Can laugh about it because nothing is really happening. No one's really, being murdered and all that. We know that, that. This is a major premise of our belief system that we all tend to agree on is that, we're not the body and the body isn't real and death is not real and all of that stuff. We have all those beliefs in our minds, right? And we all agree. I don't know, I mean, I have known a few Course in Miracles students who said, oh no, the body doesn't have to die and the world will live on forever. But that aside, for the most part, people who study A Course in Miracles believe or will say, there is no world, I'm not a body, I'm free, this is not what I am. We all say it and agree on it. And then we look and say, oh my God, what's happening to those bodies? What's happening to that? Oh my God, how terrible. I can't stand it. I'm just so upset. I'm so afraid. I'm so sad. My heart's broken looking at these things that are happening. When in one breath we're saying this is not really happening, and in the other breath we're saying, oh, but it is. It really is. So we have that conflict in our minds. Uh, and of course you're going to feel guilty if what you say you believe is not how you're living your life. So, I mean, this is why, so many, Christians are off onto, or religious people in general, are alcoholics, sex addicts, doing all kinds of things that are out of the, what their belief system is telling them is real and true. They're living something that's opposite of that, and just drowning in guilt. Well, we're doing that all the time. I'm doing that all the time. If I'm saying, I know that, this is that, God did not create a meaningless world. I know I'm upset because I'm seeing a meaningless world. I believe it and I know that that's true. And I can talk about it and teach about it and read about it and write about it and I can do all those things about it. But boy, oh boy, let my child get hurt. Let someone I love, quote unquote, lose their job or whatever. I'm going to go into um, oh the sky is falling, the world's on fire, bad things are happening, without even a heartbeat, not even thinking. I'll go right into that, fearful place, and then recognizing, oh well, there's no reason for me to be in this fearful place, and thinking that I'm in this fearful place is really attacking and saying God's not here taking care of me. um when I go through that, the guilt is inevitable. It's inevitable because I can't, that conflict is unbearable to me. I become afraid and guilty and sad, and I have a whole lot of emotional reactions to uh, that hypocrisy in my belief. If this is making any sense. Anyway, so this is why really, I have to recognize that, yes, as we were saying, I'm projecting this world that I see. I'm the author of the story I'm listening to, reading, watching. I'm the one who made it up. And I made it up, as Sharon was pointing out, as an attack on God, or Ken was pointing out as an attack on God. Of course, that, just throws a whole shitload of guilt onto me. But the reality of it is, um, it's a silly thing to think that I could attack God by undoing what God made. Uh, it just is not possible. And so, it's like, you know, trying to, beat somebody up with a feather duster. All you're going to do is make them sneeze, but you're not really going to hurt them because it's impossible. Anyway, I don't know if anybody has any comments about that or, uh, uh,
Yeah, Lynn, I feel the same way. It's like, oh yeah, when everything's going fine, I can say all this stuff and believe it all, but the minute something happens to someone that I love, I go crazy. Or if it hooks one of the ego's triggers. But still, even though we do that because we still have ego identity, we still get through things better than we used to. This stuff really does help, even if we don't apply it totally perfectly. So I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, and absolutely, and that's the thing. I wasn't trying to say, well, give up all hope, because I mean, I know that's not what you were saying either, but we absolutely can do it, and we are doing it, and every day, every day, every day, whenever we're offered these opportunities to change our mind about the world we're seeing, and in that way change the world. We're making that choice. I am making that choice more and more and more. I find it very helpful to keep up the practice all the time, because then when something does go wrong, and if something terribly wrong, something I don't, I can't even think of it, but you all know what our worst fears are, the terrible thing that might happen that could cause the end of our 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 life or our happiness or whatever. When something does go wrong, I know where to turn for reassurance, for comfort, for love, for knowing that, this is not what God intended. And in fact, God doesn't even, God is God is actually enjoying, I believe, the drama, just as we do. Tell me that, you have not watched a movie where there's a lot of drama, bad things happen, good things happen, love is lost, love is found, all the different things, and not had an experience of um I don't know, entertainment, joy, whatever, that comes from it. All expressions of love are maximal. So, if you even kind of liked the movie, or even, it doesn't matter whether you kind of liked it or not. You did, or you wouldn't have been watching it. You wanted it, or you wouldn't have been watching it. And so, what makes you think God is, any different watching the movie of the dream, the story, the illusion. And again, of course keeps telling us God doesn't know about the dream. Uh, but the part of it that does know is us. We're a part of God. We're one with God, so we're experiencing it, and so we're the ones making a choice. Did I like this movie or not? How many people saw The Godfather? Went to see The Godfather. A lot of people. Oh my God, I remember walking out of that theater stunned. I was stunned. I had never seen so much just utter callous, um, violent. It just, I was in shock for several days after going to see The Godfather. That doesn't mean I haven't seen The Godfather like 12 times or more, because, it's something my husband likes to watch occasionally. It'll be on the TV or whatever. Um, I did see it in the theater, one time, and, many other times on, video. So, what changed? What changed from, I'm stunned and horrified to, oh, this is entertainment. It's recognizing that none of that really happened. It was a story, and I could watch the story and not be affected by it. But, if I'm watching the story and getting all head up about it, then, I'm believing that it's true, and I'm going to have an unhappy experience. And look at me now, I'm laughing. I'm looking at me walking out of that movie theater with my coat in my hand, and I mean, I could just see the whole scene from right now. The shock and the feeling that I had. Um, that's and none of it really happened. Does this make any sense? Anyway, uh, I don't know why I'm so talky this morning, but I guess that's why. Got to be the talky talky. We're going to go to our book, which is Never Forget to Laugh. Personal Recollections of Bill Thetford, co-scribe of A Course in Miracles. And uh, and my mind is a total. Carol Howe. Carol Howe is the author of this book. I just blanked out. Um, anyway, I guess I'll go ahead and start reading. And Okay. Uh, I'm going to step back. Um, okay, so I'm just going to step back a whole page. From years of teaching, counseling, and simply living, I can testify that virtually everyone suffers from a sense of deficiency accompanied by the need to hide it. It is not possible to go through the early maturation process without acquiring some belief in inadequacy by the age of 5 or 6. And boy, she's right on with this because that's really when, if you follow Diedrich Warsack and his um, work, you really get to see how these things that happen to us in our younger age really affected us and how we see ourselves right now based on what we saw how we saw ourselves there. Anyway, um, okay, years ago, a man came to see me about an emergency in his life, having never previously sought professional counseling. After a short while, he asked, do very many people who come to see you feel kind of unworthy? I answered, how about 100%? This is true even if they are not aware of it. Of course, he felt much better, knowing he had a great deal of company, including Bill. Stated another way in the little book of runic wisdom, an oracle does not give you instruction as to events. An oracle points your attention toward those hidden fears and motivations that will shape your future by their unfelt presence within each present moment. Once seen and recognized, these elements become absorbed into the realm of choice. Oracles do not absolve you of your responsibility for selecting your future, but rather direct your attention toward those inner choices that may be the most important elements in determining your future. And I just have to say right here, this is exactly what we're talking about. They're talking about oracles and the future, but I'm talking about how we project the world that we see. So that these hidden fears and motivations that come up to us from our childhood happenings or just crazy thoughts we have in our mind. There's some people that never had anything happen to them of a traumatic way, but because they had traumatic thoughts in their mind, they became uh, mentally ill from a story that they told themselves. And I hear this more and more from adult people who, say, I told myself this idea that, if I did this or that, that this or that would happen. And that uh, becomes their motivation for everything in their experience. So, so she's saying the oracle thing is saying, uh, pay attention to your inner choices because that is what is projecting the world that you see. And so Carol continues, the key phrase here is hidden fears and motivations that will shape your future. While fear and guilt remain hidden, they powerfully disrupt our peace of mind, causing us to experience our world as threatening or at least unsatisfactory, right? These unconscious fears shape our lives, and we are helpless to affect real substantive change until we look straight at them, acknowledging the pain they engender. Thus, what is hidden must be brought to light for healing. And then this is from the course, Littleness versus Magnitude, I believe. Do not hide suffering from his sight, but bring it gladly to him. Lay before his eternal sanity all your hurt and let him heal you. Do not leave one spot of pain hidden from his light, and search your mind carefully for any thoughts you may fear to uncover, for he will heal every little thought you have kept to hurt you and cleanse it of its littleness, restoring it to the magnitude of God. So, this is, obviously Jesus in the Course telling us, this is why we have to look at our darkness. This is why we can't just brush it away and let it go, because you can't let it go until you look at, why do I have it? Why do I have it? Why do I cherish it? Why do I carry it with me? Why do I impose it on everybody else around me? Why did I choose this? And you don't need to go into deep analysis to figure it out. Just look at it. Why do I want to feel rejected? Well, why do I reject? Why do I reject my brothers and think that, so and so is a this and a that, and I make up an ego for them and give them motivation and, make it seem like, in my mind, like, there's something out there that's caused me to be unhappy, and it's you. Oh, that's hilarious. It's not, there's nothing outside of me that's causing me to be upset or unhappy. It's my own story about what I think is happening, and I'm the one who made it up. I think that's the funniest thing ever. There I can laugh. There I can laugh. There I can understand, it's just silliness. And as you were reading in the letting go of the ego, Sharon, uh, it really is, you just have to laugh. It's silly. It's a silly idea. So let's see, Carol continues. As a restatement of this idea, many Eastern traditions teach that happiness and peace of mind require destroying the vasanas, variously defined as mental images, latent tendencies, memory stores, past impressions, and predispositions. In other words, the self-limiting ideas we hold. And let's see if this will give me a definition of vasana. I'm guessing just real quickly. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I thought I could click on things and get it. Anyway, the vasanas, there's three of them that are the different ways um, that the ego manifests. It's like a part of the Hindu tradition. Anyway, in other words, the self-limiting ideas we hold. Those early traditions referred to the necessity of, quote, scorching the seeds of tendencies, end of quote. The Course, keeping ancient company, restates this as removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. All viable traditions of self-knowledge include facing our early conditioning in order to be released from it, thus restoring peace of mind. Everyone is reading from the same page. Um, and does anybody want to say anything, or anybody want to read? Okay. So just
I'll
as
read if you want. I mean, if you don't want to read anymore.
could you read a little bit? My voice is getting
Yeah,
um
where do you want me to start?
just as Bill's defenses.
Okay.
Thank
Just
you.
as Bill's defenses were transparent to the author, we can deduce other examples of self judgment not yet relinquished from his relationship difficulties, both before and after moving to California. Since relationships with others reveal the relationship we have with ourselves, the hassles he experienced in New York and beyond clearly pointed to fear and expectations about what he thought he deserved, though perhaps unconsciously. Now, that is really true. That self hatred, that self loathing that we all have, we don't see that. We see it when we see how much we hate the person out there, because that is truly where that self hatred is hiding, because there's no one out there. So we're putting these thoughts of hatred onto nothing, when in fact this is just blocked energy, really. It's nothing but blocked energy. So, um,
Yeah, so just to pop in here, is so if that's the case and we know that, then when we look at these people that we have accused of being, whatever it is that we've accused them, dictator, monster, whatever, we've given them this picture. Isn't that just me I'm mad at? It's
yeah,
something.
you're always, yeah, it's so obvious now. Where did you start this? Because I'm confused on this thing. Where are you? Or where was I when I was reading?
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, every difficult person in his life.
Oh, I didn't read that yet. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you were up to that.
All right. Um, this should be good. Every difficult person in his life was a red flag pointing to his own self condemnation. That's what I just said. Mirroring judgments he may have been unaware of or unwilling to face. They sat there staring back at him, each representing some facet of his guilt. What we complain about in others always indicates that we need to own in ourselves because there's only one self, and what we're seeing all day long are images made of thoughts. So every thought that I have out there is my thought. Everything, the consciousness of Sharon is all I can see, really. I could say, well, I like Lynn and Lori and Dove and Wendy and they're special, but they're just me because I'm looking at my thoughts through the filter of my mind projected onto their image, connecting me to a seeming other when that seeming other is a part of me. So it's just beautiful. Now, so what did Bill complain about even minimally? One of his greatest issues played out through, oh, I read that. Didn't I
No, you
read that?
didn't read that. This is the beginning of the next page.
Oh, I didn't read it. Okay. So, what did Bill complain about? Even minimally? One of his greatest issues played out through relationships was his objection to being forced to appear as something he wasn't. Now, isn't that interesting? Because we're all appearing as something that we're not. Certainly, no one can coerce anyone in any way unless all parties cooperate in that process. From his perspective, he felt he was told who he was rather than allowing that to reveal itself, and also that there was agendas and expectations about his having to be certain of. Of course, there merely revealed his own expectations and agendas for himself, which at times he conveniently forgot. His anger about not being accepted for who he was provides a specific clue about his own failure to accept himself. Now, let me read that again. His anger about not being accepted for who he was, and that would be probably because he was gay. And in those years, it was really, well, it's a pattern of energy, but in the story, it's all about, right, wrong, and all that in between. So he's saying, he cared deeply what people really thought. Is what he's saying, and it would make him angry when they didn't accept his viewpoints at all or who he was. Who was not engaged in that behavior somewhere along the way? Whenever you consent to suffer pain, to be deprived, unfairly treated, or in need of anything, you but accuse your brother of attack upon God's Son. ACIM never lets us off the hook, always bringing all our distress back to our own self attack, because that's all it is. But until those, this is like, you know, it's an unraveling, and the dense ego sometimes seemingly takes years to unravel. And at the same time, if, you know, the mind was shown today in a dream, basically, that I'm projecting everything that I'm seeing, and to keep that alive in me, because that's the thing about when you have a true thought, you want to keep looking at that so you can contemplate it, because in the contemplation your essence comes forward. And then you just merge with essence. It's like truth meeting truth, God meeting God. Um, okay. If Bill felt others made demands of him, trying to push him into a mold, that didn't fit. He needed to look no further than his own inclinations. If he labeled some persons as pushy, we can be sure he harbored even a latent state, some guilt or fear about his own pushiness. Yeah, that's unconscious too. Like, I have that, kind of mind with being a neurodivergent mind where I go back and forth in, in having patience, not patience. And when I'm in the ego, I have no patience, none. Because the ego is really force and Holy Spirit is power. So, yeah, so he's struggling with and this is why the book's so phenomenal, because it's a book. It's as good as the Course in Miracles. The way she writes, he says, if he labeled some persons as pushy, we can be sure he harbored, even in latent state, some guilt. Yeah, you will. Catherine Prescott commented, the pushy part of Bill was that he wanted everyone to be happy. That would be me. That would be me. That was always something that I liked feeling. If people are happy, then I'm happy. Let's see what she has to say. If I complained or felt burdened, he would say, come on, Asha. Catherine used to be called by her middle name, Asha. Let's go and forget about it. Let's play instead of being overly responsible or overworked and negative. Also, it is quite common for those who don't honor themselves to be considerate of everyone else, but not themselves. This failure to include themselves is often diagnosed as a false notion of humility. Catherine remembers. On one hand, he wanted to be kind, to say yes, to be a good and loving and generous. Now, this is the trap because there's an unconscious need to be a holy ego. So we can all be loved by our special person that we are. Because then, people will say, well, she's just so special. And that specialness gives us this pleasure that you can feel that it doesn't feel authentic. She's so special. And we want to hear that because of the way we're wired. But when we see the release of giving that up by just surrendering it, that's when the miracles just come in. So she's saying, I'm going to read it again. On one hand, he wanted to be kind, to say yes, to be good and loving and generous. He was such a fountain of giving, of pure generosity. He was such a pure to everyone, and whom he had to set limits and enforce boundaries. It was quite devastating to him. I have those issues. This is funny. He had to sort out well, I guess we all have the same issues, really. I mean, it's not like his ego is any different than yours, Lynn or Lori. But some of us are more magnified in what she's sharing about Bill. So, he doesn't like he had to sort out what might be hurting someone else and what was hurting himself. He worked with that a lot. He could have written the book about when I say no, I feel guilty. And rising up from that, really his challenge. He often would say, it's the guilt, it's the guilt. Then there was possessiveness. He felt that chiefly Helen, wanted to own a piece of him for themselves. From what I've read, she was very possessive. Yeah. Bill had created a tremendously constrained and constraining environment for himself. As it is evident in how consistency events unfolded. And he was always trying to break free of that constraint. In the meantime, people who seemed to restrict him appeared throughout most of his life, the wherever you go, there you are principle at work. His inner jailer was always on duty, playing out its role. from his subjective point of view in his relationships. Catherine recalled another aspect they worked on together. He was breaking out of a heaviness of New York and was tolerant of anything that wasn't really free and joyous and up. He wanted a more up. Oh, he was breaking out of the heaviness of New York and was intolerant of anything that wasn't really free and joyous and up. He wanted a more uplifting experience and was pretty intolerant of, frustrated by heaviness in himself. Oh, I got to drop the mic. That's Cliff. Somebody pick it up for a minute.
Okay, sure. I'll restart this paragraph. So he was breaking out of the heaviness of New York and was intolerant of anything that wasn't really free and joyous and up. He wanted a more uplifting experience and was pretty intolerant of, frustrated by, heaviness in himself and others. He was trying to escape from it, thinking, oh my God, now I'm a hippie. It's as if he were getting out of jail. It reminded me of his getting out of the bed after his scarlet fever. It was almost like he was jailed as a kid. He wanted to reconnect with the 17-year-old. He was more adultified and skipped being a carefree teenager. The chains were breaking and his spirit finally flying free. That wanting to play is who and what his spirit quintessentially is. He did it. He did the work. He really processed it through. So yeah, this is beautiful because
You know what? Some people say that this course was written for him completely. Like,
I
you know how
believe,
we think it's for all of us? But if you look at there's something, because he had the awakening that Jesus talks about. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, I do.
he went, to Carol. It was so beautiful. This is my Independence Day.
Yeah.
That would have blown me away. He's a treasure. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want
Okay,
me to
no.
read?
Yeah, so I just finished that paragraph. And I don't know if you had any other thoughts about this. I mean, I definitely, it's hard for me to, being thinking that I was constrained in any way. I've never felt that way. So
You never
seriously,
felt constrained in what way? Um,
like because of um what was expected of me, who they thought I was, what I did for a living, nothing ever made me feel like I couldn't just be um be me. Whereas his whole life was about you can't be who you are. You can't be gay. I mean, we talk about it now. I don't know if you remember, and I'm sure that you probably do. I have many friends who were gay and transgender throughout my growing up, and because of for some reason attracted them or they attracted me. I don't know, but
you
that.
protected them is what I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
well, yeah, that's true. That is true. But the whole idea of their having to hide who they were
That's
to
horrible.
go to
Yeah.
school, to get a job, if you even had if you even I remember when I was a kid, there was a show, there was a movie called the Children's Hour. Is that what it was called? Anyway, it was about two women who were school teachers and they lived together. And somehow or the other, the kids in their class started suspecting that they were lesbians or that there was something going on with them. And they put it out into the community. And the next thing, the whole community turned against these two women, and they lost their their job. Being teachers, and it was a terrible thing that happened, and that is not, I mean, look at Alan Turing, who was during the war. I mean, he basically did the computer work that really stopped World War II. I mean, the code breaking, etc. he did amazing, amazing work. And then they made him resign his post in the military because he was homosexual. And I believe he committed suicide.
So they're
So
doing, so this is like a repeat of energy. Do you see that? Like what they're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
now, it's just like what I said, this vibrational energy going back and forth. And then the mind creates a story. Oh, well, they didn't get past this. Well, it's not that at all. It's it's that it's just this production going on of hate, special
Right.
hate, special love.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Bill, got this experience of being free from that, to be in a place where he could be who he was, that people accepted him as he was. They didn't expect him to be the professor or the doctor I mean, of course they did expect something of him. He couldn't get away from that. And as we see, as we're reading this book, people, generally are like, following him around or fawning over him or whatever, giving him attention that he was not really excited about. But uh, he was free of all that stuff that had even moving to California, getting out of the New York weather. I mean,
Now, who did he move with in California? I forget. Was it Carol or was it everybody?
it was I think he was up there by where Judy was, because Carol was in Denver. So
Right.
up where Jerry Jampolsky and Judy Scutch and those folks were living. So
That's just awesome. I mean, the man had a very beautiful life. He really did. He was used as a, both of them did, really. I mean, it was harder for her, I think, because she didn't calm her nervous system down. But it wasn't really meant to. If she didn't calm it down, she wasn't supposed to. Just like Marianne, like I said yesterday, Marianne Williamson is playing a part.
right,
We're all enlightened. When she said, I'm not enlightened, I'm thinking, but everybody's enlightened. Everybody, because there's nothing here.
exactly, exactly. But
So she
some
always said in the
some
very
people.
beginning of her teachings that she didn't want to be enlightened. That she said, I'm not going to be an enlightened master. So that was just her part.
Yeah, but I mean that's because what you expect or call an enlightened master, that
Right.
that's expectations. That's what we're reading about now. This is why, like when people like Jeff Foster, he first said that he had become enlightened or awakened, and then he realized, oh well, no, not really, and he came back and said, no, well, not really, and something else. But uh, I mean, I've known a lot of people who have gone through that thinking that they've, made
Yes,
this.
because you
y-
get a
uh,
shift. When you have a shift, you don't know what it is. It's very confusing. So that's what happened to Jeff. But the one thing that Jeff was able to hold on to was always his integrity. I can't explain it. He just has
Oh,
a,
yeah.
because Scott Killaby was on, again, I don't want to talk because it's just my thoughts, but it was just like he was asking, Scott wanted to help Adyashanti. So Adyashanti had pain. But that's the spiritual ego that wants to get out there and help people. When in fact, if you know the truth, no one needs help. So,
Right. Yeah. Adi Shanti had pain for himself. He need, and there's all these things that you have to realize when it's pain that, you wouldn't
yeah,
realize if
and
somebody
people
could
have a
magically take it away from you. That's,
right. One of the things that Adyashanti says about what he had, and I think he had like a true, I think his whole person is gone now, but and I don't know, but he says it's actually a violent process, and because it is. You're now for us, it's not because our part's different. Every one of us is playing our part perfectly. So, like, when I used to think, well, he's not enlightened, she's enlightened, and he's not. None of it meant anything. It was just these concepts floating around my mind. It's just an isness. There's nothing here to get.
uh,
And that's really a disappointment to the ego
well,
because
and
the
the
ego
idea of
really wants to be special.
the thought about it being a violent thing in the first place,
Right.
what the only thing that is violent is if you don't accept it. If you reject it and resist, you're going to perceive it as being a violent process. If you were in acceptance and just perceived it as being just this is for me. And I'm happy. Just be happy about what's happening to you. It changes everything, honestly.
Well, there's nowhere. The real truth is, there's nowhere to go. Like when I drive, when I'm in the car, okay, and I see the car looks like it's moving. It's not moving. I mean, the subject of who we are doesn't move. The car
Right.
moves, the objects move. So you can sit and see what a virtual reality is. Just watch yourself when you think your car is moving, that you don't move.
Yeah. Well, and actually, you're watching a movie of a car moving, so it's not moving either.
Right, right.
It,
It's
it,
so it's just fascinating. Now the thing I love about this today is this enlivens it. By keeping it in the forefront of our minds, this enlivens it. Because otherwise, when I say enlivens it, I mean it makes the spirit come in the forefront, because sometimes the ego does get its way with all of us. It does. It will. But I think these sessions are very helpful. I can't usually go Tuesday and Thursday nights anymore, but I try to. So, but you haven't been taping them, have you?
I haven't been putting them on YouTube. So,
Okay.
um, the some because people don't want, and the NBC ones, just because I want to give people the opportunity to talk about their experience without being out in the public eye talking about their
Right.
experience.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so far that it really has not been happening, but I rather have people feel like they could just say whatever it
Comfortable. Yeah, I
is.
would too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because what's the
so
point? I mean, the whole point is that if you're going to, we want everybody to see this on YouTube. That could be a thought, right? But the thing is, if they're meant to see it, they don't need us to post it. They'll get there.
right. And
Right?
actually, if somebody wanted it, I would definitely send it because I do record them. And
Right. That would
so
be perfect. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of stuff I record, but I don't send out. So,
I
but
mean, I think that it's like, honestly, it's very helpful, especially our Thursdays, because we have that, one after another. But for now, Karen, like you said, won't be on. Um, but we'll have enough people in there that, I find that when I re-listen to myself, meaning you, because you're myself and Laura's myself, it just reiterates, because I'm not saying like, okay, I feel that way too, because I'm the other. I feel that way because I'm one with all of you, and I'm learning through everything how to just let it all go. It's
yeah,
really therapeutic, is what I want to say.
it's all me,
Yeah, but it's
all of it.
therapeutic to have this stuff. I really believe it's very helpful.
Yeah. So I'm going to read on. We have about 9 minutes. Neither Bill nor the rest of us can escape this very direct statement related to our quote challenging relationships. Learn this. This is from the course, I believe. Learn this and learn it well, for it is here delay of happiness is shortened by a span of time you cannot realize. You never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. Whatever form his sins appear to take, it but obscures the fact that you believe them to be yours and therefore meriting a just attack. So this is, excuse me, this is uh, basically the justification for forgiveness right here. That you never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. Whatever form his sins appear to take, it but obscures the fact that you believe them to be yours, and therefore meriting a just attack. So, uh, that's what, and Jesus says so beautifully, would I accuse myself of doing this? And this is what he's saying. I'm accusing myself. What I'm
Right.
looking
He's
at
just
and
giving us the
attacking.
cliff notes. He's telling us, listen, guys, this is a gift. But until readiness, and readiness comes in stages for every one of these, like we fight it until we finally have a true seeing over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the other thing too that I realized after Sunday, after listening with John and Marianne on Sunday, is uh for some reason I have some, expectation that everybody else is going to see things the way I do. And I recognize, well, apparently here, not everybody sees things the way that I do. And I'm just so used to being with y'all, and we're all just like, yep, I agree. Yes, this is right. And blah, blah, that, when I'm hearing something that is like seems like the opposite of what we've all agreed is true, you believe it and I do too, it made me uncomfortable. How silly is that, right? I mean, that's just
Well, the
pure
I being
silly.
right is like so dug into us that it's actually just hiding. I want to be right. Jesus gives us all our answers in the book, but we don't experience them until we experience them.
Right, exactly. And just because I can say, oh, I understand this, doesn't mean that I'm experiencing the world that way.
Right. That's right.
I mean, it's not right or wrong. It's just, that's, I'm still looking out apparently and seeing, guilt. And as Jesus is just telling me right here, it's my guilt.
Yeah,
You know,
everything is like I've heard Gloria say that over and over too. She always reiterates that it's her consciousness, and that's what by telling yourself that it just makes it better. Otherwise, you get into a problem with your own ego.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So, okay, let's see. In contrast to some behaviors and attitudes to which he was still blind, other areas of his discontent were clear. He really despised his bouts of depression and moments of irrationality and condemned himself for them, considering them a real deficiency on his part. He felt terrible after a display of anger, which stirred up much self-doubt and self-loathing. He also felt remorse for the comments he had made in 1982 about Ken in his autobiographical interviews. When Ken read the notes and asked Bill about them, he responded very differently, telling Ken that now he realized he had inherited a most difficult task, which he had performed admirably under the circumstances. Now, I'm just going to say, I have heard about this, that he made some comments, negative comments about Ken. And, of course, he's going to feel guilty about that. Um, and recognize later that, he made a mistake. But what apparently he didn't do, which is the thing that I don't do so much of the time, is just take it to the Holy Spirit and say, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. And I made the decision myself, but I can choose again. And if I choose again, all of the effects of that wrong decision will be corrected. So I'm going to choose right now to let it go and allow the Holy Spirit to undo everything. See, that's the thing that and then let it go. This is, this I can look at this and forgive this right now because have I done the same thing? Said things about people that, later on I realized were, incorrect and defamatory and whatever, not helpful, not loving, not kind. And I could just sit here and, sit in my little pity pool here and, feel bad about it. Or I can recognize I made the wrong decision. I can choose again. And by choosing again, all of the effects of that wrong decision will be undone. So, uh, anyway, but, that's, I'm going to have to go and find those interviews and see what he said about Ken, because now I'm curious. But, recognizing
Oh,
that,
I want to hear too.
yeah, a lot of people, have a lot of heartburn with Ken. So,
I don't know what he was like. It just appeared that he was wonderful. So, and you saw him, so I don't know.
Yeah, he seemed pretty wonderful to me. But you know that it depends on your point of view. If you go there expecting him to be something not so nice, then that's exactly what you're going to see too. So
Yeah, because you're going to project it somehow.
yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend I'm marking the place, even though it will not let me do that. And I'm going to stop the share.
Lynn, you know what? We both had lucid dreams. Those were lucid dreams that we had. When I was talking about this morning, and you
Yeah,
talked.
yeah, yeah. Lucid in um, not in the way what a lot of people talk about lucid dreams and say that they can control the dream once they're awake in the dream. I cannot control a shit thing in my dreams, even when I'm aware that I'm dreaming. I can't make something else happen. You know, the minute I find out, recognize I'm dreaming, really dreaming, then I wake up.
Right.
Quite annoying because it really disturbs my sleep. I'm trying to sleep and then like, oh, point, I'm awake again. And I mean, seriously, I wake up numerous times.
Do you know how much we love sleep? We love to sleep, and we love to sleep deeply.
Hmm.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like not to be here? It'll be great.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.